Hi everyone, this is Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 16, Sneak Peek First Reactions. So you guys have seen a couple different things at this point. We saw a sneak peek, and then we saw the Ice Walkers. We're going to be talking about each of those things today. I know a lot of people are still fired up with the Pikes, and I do have an announcement to make because we are doing 2 more streams tonight, and we're going to get more than enough opportunity to talk about those. So tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to do Pike reactions. I know it's still very traumatic and a lot of debate on how it went down. So I'm going to, we might get some of that in this video, but I really want to look at episode 16 and kind of make some, assessments and maybe some slight predictions, not the bold predictions just yet. And then tonight at 9:30, we're going to be doing the best scenes that are not Pike scenes. So you're going to get kind of a 2-for-1 deal because the focus is on the death. And I don't want everybody, we're going to do a stream at 9:30, and if that ends at 10:30, I don't want everybody going to sleep with all these Pikes in their mind because there's some really, really graphic pictures, but there's also some really neat stills from the show that a lot of people missed. Whether it's the speech, whether it's some of the scenes with Alden kind of looking around, Eugene asking where's Frankie. There's a lot really to discuss with this. So let's jump into the sneak peek first reactions. I think many of you have already seen that. Hopefully, this snow that kind of came in, it happened relatively quickly. Now keep in mind, Daryl and Lydia walk up. She leaves the hilltop insignia down there, and you get sort of a drop of snow that falls down. I think that's kind of neat. We bring some closure to that story, but they're getting a little bit of weather, and we're going to see something that we've never really had to deal with in the show. We're going to see, the old. How many times have we been on our stream and we predicted like, hey, if we're in a zombie apocalypse, where are we going to go? We're going to go to like a mountain. We're going to go to a mountain that has some snow because that's going to slow the walkers down. It's going to freeze them. Apparently not. You guys can see they're just kind of crawling out of the woodwork. And there's probably going to be another theory or some discussion around how did you guys feel about the scene with Daryl and Carol walking side by side, and Daryl says, she's a good kid, and Carol says, well, every time I see her, I see Henry. And Daryl says to her, what do you see when you look at me? And Ezekiel kind of turns around to see that moment where she's consoling him. Are we going to light up the internet with the Carol-Daryl rumors, relationship rumors again? Because I've already gotten some messages on that. I don't think that's the case, personally. It's going to be hard for Carol to like Lydia. And, you see that, right? So what do you really think Daryl's point to that is? I think, and it's not as bad as Easy Street. Daryl is carrying, it is. I agree, Melody. It's about Henry, but believe me, there's already the rumors out there because we got to have something to talk about, and because of that look that Ezekiel turned around, good. I'm glad it's not a lot in this group, but yeah, I'm already getting messages already being discussed. But Daryl is dealing with it, but I think at this point he can't. Daryl's always sheltered. When something happens, he's sort of like a turtle. He goes back in his shell and he holds his emotions. But at least this time he's asking an honest question. What do you see when you look at me? Do you see somebody that got your son killed? Do you see somebody that's reckless? All these things are probably going through his mind. And she says, I see you. And so I'm going to ask that question because I've never really been able to figure it out. If Daryl were to ask each of you that question, and please, I know it's going to be, there's some lust in here. If Daryl were to honestly ask you that question, how would you answer it? I'm gonna call on the serious ones, not the one that are, going to go take him and bathe him. I want to know. Naive? Would that be a good comeback? A survivor? I think it's a good answer. Tom Ferreira, Super Chat, says, poor Lydia. A brother. A friend, maybe, a friend, maybe a little bit more specific. I think he's looking for a trait. What do you see? That would be a nice thing to say. What do you see when you look at me? A friend, a loyal friend. I like that. David Henderson, a hardened soul with a kind heart. That I like. Now you're kind of getting to the composition of Daryl. Fab, you're hilarious, man. That is great. Really. That's your big introduction. Her best friend, Tommy V. Hey, Kills. Thanks for the therapy. Hey, you know what? We're doing a few, and like I said, I know there's going to be some emotions. There's going to be a little fire, some disagreement, some ideas, some thoughts. But the more we kind of talk through it, it'll get back to a more normal approach. But we aren't going to totally get away from the pike. We are going to talk about the pike at 8, and there's going to be a lot of feelings in that. But we're going to end tonight's sessions at 9:30. We'll do a 9:30 stream. We're going to talk about some of the best scenes, some really, really things if you go back and watch the show again. So let's fast forward a little bit. Ezekiel said something. Next way station. What are these way stations? What are these checkpoints? What are these things that the communities? They look cold. They look hungry. Been a while since the elements have been a problem for our group. Few more mouths to feed. The kingdom, wasn't producing a lot of stuff. Where is that station? That's a good point, Jim. Ezekiel said they're going to have to ride through the night. So is this the end of the kingdom? Is this what's going on here? That they've abandoned the kingdom. They're taking everything they can. They're all moving up to Hilltop to be in one location. And that's a checkpoint. Because how far did Henry say it was from Kingdom to Hilltop? Didn't he say it was about a day's ride? So they're not just right around the corner. And you got a little bit of snow, and Drama King's probably looking at this because he's from New York. He's probably like, you call this a storm? And actually, this is what people in D.C. and Virginia do. They freak out when there's like this much snow. Maybe these are set up by Magnus Group similar to... So Kingdom is gone. And it's time to get everybody together. So Trish came up with a question, and somebody else pointed this out. So let me say this: if you guys missed my earlier stream, where I called this episode in 15. I'm not going to talk too much about 15 because I do want to talk about our first reactions of what we think is going to happen with the winter is there and they're relocating. So why did they not notice the thousands of walkers? Every detail in 15 could not be fully demonstrated. If you guys noticed, there was a slight, one thing I saw was it was night, and then they walk out, next thing you know, it's day. That wasn't a 5-minute walk. So clearly Alpha and Daryl were walking for a while. There was something that she had hidden that she wanted him to see that was away from everything else. So it's not like these walkers are just in broad daylight. Now, you can say it was a 2-hour walk, it was an 8-hour walk, it was a 12-hour walk, and you can debate what you want. Why didn't they stop and eat? Wouldn't Daryl have been famished and fallen over? He didn't have anything to drink. There's all these little details that we could just go through. And I'm less concerned about the details as the bigger picture. They walked a while. They walked somewhere that Daryl was not familiar with, and there was a hell of a lot of walkers there. And then they had to walk back. So I don't need it all to make sense, and I'm not saying that you do, but I'm just saying there are a ton of minutia that's just out there that we're really looking at, for anywhere from how come Alpha didn't have blood on her hands when she came back. And if that's all you got out of this episode, you got to go back and watch it several times, because there's a lot more to really be appreciated in this episode than the bad things that people seem to gravitate toward. Delaware Sasquatch, could Kingdom be in Whisperer territory? Could the Whisperers have expanded their territory and it's time to move on? That's a good question. Maybe. You think like Alpha's moving the goalpost? The border used to be there, and now the border's on the other side of Kingdom, and this is ours. I think it's a fair comment. Let me let that sink in a little bit. Jason Mixologist said, Kills, just want to say, I love the way his channel is growing. It's like the Walking Dead universe gets bigger, we get bigger. Keep up the good work, mods, patrons, sponsors, new channel members. Thank you so much, Jason. And Valar as well. Hello 99 Army, Kill, Steph, Emmy Kill, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, patrons, super chatters. Loved the episode, was an absolute 10. I want to focus really quickly, and I promise we'll get back to the predictions because there's been a lot of new people here. Jason and Valar, and many of you, members, patrons, are longtime supporters of this channel, are actually supporters of this channel when there were 10,000 of us, 20,000 of us, a few members, a couple of Patreons, and your support has made this channel grow. The ability to advertise, some of the apparel that we have, people, word of mouth advertising. I can't say thank you enough. I can say it every stream, but it still wouldn't be enough. But definitely thank you to you guys, because I know you guys have supported the channel for a long time, and I never, ever, ever take all the people in this room for granted. It's a big crowd, and we had an amazing crowd last night, but a lot of fun. We're not always going to agree, but we are going to try to make it as fun as possible. Eminem Tyler says, hi. Hi, Tyler. Good to see you. Thank you. Appreciate the super chat, and appreciate you being here. And Justin Lewis says, I'm listening at work. Well, I appreciate that too, because a lot of you guys do listen at work. I'm not telling anybody, but thank you. Appreciate that. Tyler says, man, I'm still not over these deaths from last night. So Tyler, I'm not going to claim that it's official therapy. I do have a psychology degree, but this is not therapy, so don't put me on the hook and say Kill said he was going to cure me. But I do find a couple of things. One, talking about it last night helped a little bit. Avoiding it for a stream or two, like we did today, gets our mind off of it. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to dig back into it, and we're going to talk about the pikes, and we're going to talk about all the gruesome stuff and everything, and we're just going to get it all out on the table again. We're not going to be afraid of it. And then at 9:30, we're going to table that, and we're going to go back to some of the really brilliant things that were done in the episode. So it's going to be a wider range of emotions, but we're going to get it back to normal. I have a philosophy with that. One day I'll tell you guys about it. The Walking Dead Love Line hosted by Dr. Q. I like that. Okay. If you're going to pressure me for it, I'll give you the analogy. Tom Ferreira says, Enid and Alden smashed. You don't smash in horror. Tom, you some of your super chats were about the group being tortured. I remember that. And I see what's neat is they were going down that path. They were going down the path of torture, and then Ozzy and company came in and got the job done. All right. Let's hold off on some of 15. Let's move forward just to a little bit of 16. Negan freed in 16. How many people are hyped up for Negan getting a little bit more face time, a little bit more airtime? You guys ready to free Negan? Get him involved in the story a little bit more? They've literally had him on ice. Hey, Vasquez says, hey, Kills, how do you think Negan will react to the heads? Probably if Negan is true to his character, he'll do multiple things. Let me give you a range of emotions that Negan has shown this season and see if this makes sense to you. So one, remember him beating down the walkers where he just had this rage when he was walking to Sanctuary. So he's got some aggression. Number two, he had a little one-on-one with Big Richie. Sorry, big man. Just not going to work. So he has that. And then he also has this third emotion, which is to immediately cast blame. And it is kind of like Michonne and say, well, you're the leader, you're not doing a very good job. Or, he'll say something to Father G along the lines of, well, from what I heard, Rosita was out there. So he likes to throw it out there, but as soon as you kind of call him on it, he backs off. That's like his new personality. He'll say something to Michonne, it's like, don't you even start. It's like, and then he just kind of tones it down. He remembers his place. So, one, I think Negan is going to blame the leaders that they didn't do a good job. They weren't prepared for this. So I think that's classic Negan. I think Frankie and DJ, he's truly going to miss, kind of like he did with Big Richie. And number three, I think he's going to show the rage. So I think all three of those situations are going to be Negan's new character. Don't try to understand him. Don't try to pin him down. Trying to understand Negan at this point with kind of those three different characteristics is very similar to trying to understand Alpha. So let me switch, flip the script a little bit. Is Alpha compassionate? And can Alpha love? Think about that for a second before you answer. We got Jim 09 says, okay with Negan being free, but please, no bat ever. And Jim, there's a lot of people that I think the visual of the bat is going to be a problem. We got people saying, no, she can't. Interesting. Of course she can. The thing with Alpha is, and this is why I said, you can't pigeonhole her. You can't put her in any one perspective. She absolutely loves her daughter. She's crying over her daughter. She can be vengeful and sick and still have compassion. Fluff, he's going to say, hot diggity dog. Tickles, yes. Alpha, I think, is a mirror image of Negan. She can show compassion. She can show rage. And she can also show that uncomfortability. She can also show she's a little uncomfortable. It's a hell of a word to say. And that she needs to keep the group together. Multiple times she said that they respect the Alpha. So as the Alpha, she's got more of a responsibility. And I think one would argue it's not just about self-preservation. She sees what she's doing as rebuilding society. She is a twisted leader. So, question I have for you in the future. You think Alpha could leave the group and survive on her own? You think she could hunt? You think she could take care of herself? Tom Ferrer says, Alpha can show it, but not that often to others. Could Alpha survive? I don't see Alpha as a person that just doesn't want to wash the dishes. That doesn't want to cut the grass. That she has to have all these people because she can't do it on her own. No, that was Negan. Negan's the one that didn't want to do the housework. Negan's the one that didn't want to do the yard work. Alpha believes in her cause. Alpha believes the people behind, she has been twisted to a degree. And what's important with this is, I think Negan was a killer. I think Negan took advantage of the rules. I don't think Negan was a psychopath or a sociopath. I think Negan was a person. Listen, hear me out on this one, okay? Because I'm going to make a big distinction, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with it. If there was no speed limit, how fast would you drive? See, we had Negan as a sociopath when there were rules. But when there are no rules, it's hard to really label anybody. $50, $70? Maybe. 75, 100? So, Negan took advantage of the rules. And the rules were that, well, you could kill people. There's no law. There's no prison. He could get away with whatever he wanted. And because he wanted all the women, and he wanted security of food, he didn't want to have to go out and hunt for it. He wanted people to bring it to him. And he took advantage of the system. And he felt regret for it. Alpha's different. Alpha's not taking advantage of the system. Alpha has changed. Alpha has devolved. Alpha is finding a new way to live, and she believes in that way of life. Not that she couldn't do it on her own. She's trying to brainwash entire groups. A. Vasquez says, I'm confused. So did Sadiq's story actually happen? I believe it happened. There are screenshots of it that it looked like it happened, and I'm okay with the speech, and I'm okay with it. So in my mind, it happened. Vasquez, in your mind, it doesn't have to happen, but it's not a question I think that's ever going to be revisited or answered. So I think the assumption to the audience is, just like the assumption was that RJ was real, the assumption is that the Sadiq events happened exactly that way and the people died as heroes. William, the Walking Dead billboard, I see Alpha and Negan being somewhat of the same. They need to belong to something. They need a group. Williams, they are similar, but I want to make that distinction between the two. And I think because of that, that's why people have started to see Negan as a person. I don't think anybody will ever see Alpha as a person again. Would you guys agree? Would you guys agree that Alpha will never be resurrected? She'll never be a hero. She'll either escape or die, but she won't be given the chance to change or to be locked up. In fact, she won't even be locked up. But there are people, even after the Negan lineup, that said, and it wasn't just the people that knew the comic story and how it played out and how Negan was going to change. There were people that said, I don't like what he did, but I understand it because Rick killed a lot of his people. And I thought Negan was definitely right to retaliate. I don't think he was right to retaliate the way he retaliated. He went overboard with the cruelty. He got in front of a big audience, and he needed to put on a show, and it was the wrong show at the wrong time. But the alternative could have been is Negan absolutely could have snuck in Alexandria and killed 20 or 30 people while they slept. Absolutely, Chris. I mean, that's kind of, the mental images and the attachment we had for Glenn is never going to go away. And the sad part of that is, if Negan killed 2 people, if he would have snuck in Alexandria and killed 50 in their sleep, people probably would have forgiven him sooner than for the way he killed Glenn. And based on a numbers point, it was just one person. Well, I mean, after Abraham, it was just one additional person there. But, yeah, the audience is definitely going to hold him to that standard. Some good comments and some good chat. And I really wanted to talk about Alpha a little bit and some of the reactions to kind of get you guys sidetracked. See, you guys can see my intent, right? Because now here we are talking about Negan, and here we are talking about Alpha a little bit, and it does get us away from the Pikes, but believe me, we are going to talk about Pikes at 8 o'clock. Delaware Sasquatch brought up a good point. Really good point. How much did Simon do without Negan knowing? Simon killed all those men from Oceanside. Do you guys think about this? That's a good point. Is Simon perhaps, in a weird sort of way, the person responsible for killing the most people on The Walking Dead? I mean, if we put that into perspective, Simon's group killed all of Jadis's people and wiped out all the men on Oceanside. But the thing is, Simon and the governor on TV, watered down. See, that's, and I know I'll never get that call. People have said Henry was a waste of a character, Carl was a waste of a character, Jesus was a waste of a character. Simon is by far the biggest waste of a character. They could have sent Simon to Fear the Walking Dead and had him more evil than Negan, and ratings would have went through the roof. I was politicking that for so long. I was writing them letters. I was like, please, don't kill Simon. Send him to Fear. Send him to Fear and make him just the most vile person you've ever met. And it'll go through the roof. Amazing waste of a villain. I mean, that would have been... I would have watched that show every week. Look at Simon. Who's Simon going after? And Simon was funny. He was still violent. What would Simon say? I think we're going to have to disagree on that point. Simon is like Simon's like a vicious Jim Carrey. If Jim Carrey had a dark side, if Jim Carrey's character from The Mask could merge with his character from Liar Liar, that would be Simon, I think. Something like that. It's a rough visual. Yeah, I mean, I look back on it. We can make this a whole different chat, whole different conversation. How many characters had to die because of bad writing because they had Negan beat Glenn down with a baseball bat? Think about that for a minute. We were going to sneak peek first reaction, and you guys got me on the topic I'm really passionate about. Think about all the careers that got burned because of bad writing. And that was bad writing, I'm going to say. Carl, the Carl death, Chandler Riggs, sorry, you don't have a job, because there was a writer that was convinced that it would be a good idea for Negan to beat Glenn down with a bat and dance around in the moonlight. All they had to do, if you really wanted, all they had to do is have Simon turn around and shoot Glenn. Then Simon would have been responsible, and then when Negan choked Simon out later on, then everybody would say, you know what, Negan just killed Abraham, and then he killed, they had Spencer, but we knew Spencer was going to die. But Spencer was going to betray Rick, so that got Negan some points. He made spaghetti for him. That got him some points. His relationship with Carl, that got him some points. He choked out Simon. That got him some points. He liked Eugene. He wanted to try to recruit Sasha. He killed Rapey Davy. Look at all the good things that Negan has done. I'm sorry. He didn't kill Rick. He was going to give Rick a hug, and Rick cut his throat. All because of Glenn. That's a lot of work the writers had to do. You talk about a snowball effect. And then, hey, you could have still had Carl alive. And then Carl could have, I got to be honest, though. Somebody, let me answer this. Sheila Beasley says Carl's death was senseless. On a real note, just going to give you, can I be completely honest with you guys for a minute? Just for a minute. Because I'm not going to hold back with this one. And it does have to do with the Carl death. All right, good. Chandler couldn't do it. I'm sorry. Chandler could not do it. We might miss Carl. We might miss the concept of Carl. We might miss comic book Carl. But there's no way. Chandler could not lead the show. There is no Daryl in the comics. And Rick is gone. So Daryl has to be the lead of the show. So it wasn't just that. It wasn't just bad writing. They had to hand the baton over to Daryl to let Daryl lead the show. So just as you miss Carl and complain about it a little bit, just think that Chandler was beyond his part. He grew out of the part. He wasn't going to be. People are not going to tune in every week and say, I can't wait to see what Chandler Riggs is going to do. He's the next Rick Grimes. He's not. I'm sorry. And that's what kind of brings me at peace with the decision making. Because I keep seeing people say, screw Gimple. Screw Gimple. It was a bad idea. It was a business deal. Maybe if you took Chandler out of the role, and I don't know. Who could we have had to be the next Carl Grimes? It would have been a badass. I'm okay with Judith Grimes taking his role, to be honest with you. I'm fine. I like Judith. I like Judith so much more than I like Carl anyway. That I agree with. Delaware Sasquatch. The new Judith, there's nothing she's done that I've just not been blown away. She's savage. She is so good. Christopher Walken. That's funny. Judith and RJ. Yep. It's Michael. That comment is not even close to being accurate. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. No way. I think from top to bottom, from Robert Kirkman to Scott Gimple to Angela Kang to whether it's Denise Huth, whether it's Gail Ann Hurd, this group is amazing. Dealing with actors changing roles, who they have to kill, keeping people interested, giving the audience something to talk about. I totally disagree. I think it is a class show. I think they're amazing. There are YouTube channels and fan clubs, and all of us are here because of something that they added to it. And that rolls all the way down to the actors. The actors last night did an amazing job. And, I have to be honest, some of my favorite episodes were when Scott Gimple was a showrunner. So I think Angela Kang has taken it to a different level. But the only thing that I took exception to was over the last couple of seasons with The Kingdom and Oceanside and Negan, the story drug out a little bit more, and I'm glad. But you know what? One testament to Scott Gimple is you got to know when it's time for a different perspective to come in. And I think that deserves some credit as well. He knew it was becoming a one-sided story, and you needed something else, and I think she's crushed it. Tom Ferreira said Enid was such a happy character. Why Alpha? I think more so than, the conspiracy theories that are going to be the obvious ones, right? Was Sadiq lying? It's going to be a conspiracy theory. There's others. But I think rather than me focus my time on that, I want to know why Alpha picked the people she picked. And I think there's a hidden meaning somewhere in there. And I do think there's some truth to it and some importance to who she selected. And I think we'll do some videos and we'll talk about that. Why Enid? What was it about Enid? What could she have possibly known, or what did she overhear? What could have happened? Could be opportunity, but maybe there is a twisted backstory that we'll never see that we can kind of make our own assessments. And hey, we're about 37 minutes in. We got a ton of people here. So really? I can't believe you came in to promote your crying reaction video. We don't do that here. We don't come on to channels and talk about other things. I mean, I'm glad you did a reaction video and you cried. But all right, bye. I'm like, really? Let me jump in this stream and see if people will like me. Alpha personally killed Henry herself, I bet you. Why? Because she couldn't bring herself to kill her own daughter. Well, I think seeing Henry look at her and seeing her silhouette and kind of, that was rough. There are some good stills out there. But we're going to go over some of them. You'll see some of them in tonight's video. Taya, good point. She wanted to hurt Lydia. So I'm going to make a couple quick announcements. First of all, as I said earlier, we're going to wind this thing down. We're going to stream at 8 o'clock tonight. Be ready. There's going to be a whole heck of a lot of people in there talking pikes. It is going to be pike reactions. Take your gloves off. Go in, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what broke your heart. We're going to talk about it. That's what we do. So, be respectful, but definitely want to bring your conversation and bring the ability to defend yourself and debate your position. We'll walk away from it, everybody shaking hands and saying, hey, we talked about it, and this is what we liked, this is what we didn't like. Tonight at 9:30, we're not going to talk pikes. We're going to talk about the best scenes from the episode without the pikes. We're going to talk about all the other stuff that we might have missed because we were so focused on who died. And I think that'll be a good stream as well, and it'll be kind of a good way to sort of wrap it up for the day. We might do Coffee with Kills tomorrow morning, so we could get some early morning streams working. This is going to be a busy week for everybody. I want to say what's up to Sylvester Shelford. Enid might have reminded Alpha of Lydia. Good point. And Tom Ferreira, everybody going to get broken by Alpha. But we are going to hate Alpha. Collectively, we are going to hate her. Two more announcements that I do want to make is one, we are 2 members away from unlocking the 999 Superfan emoji. So I know several people are still trying to figure it out. If you're trying to become a member, you have to join through YouTube Gaming. And once you join through YouTube Gaming, you're watching there through the app, then you can hit the $ like you're going to super chat and then become a member. So once we get a couple more people, maybe we'll get it tonight. I do want to create that custom emoji, and we're kind of mix it around a little bit. And the other thing I do want to say is thanks to all the patrons. We've got a couple new patrons as well, and a couple new channel members I do have to update on the boards you guys see up there. So thank you for everything that you guys do. Moderators, great job last night and all throughout the day. Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells. Super chatters, once again, thank you. And I haven't done a shout out. I couldn't do it last night because these numbers were freaking ridiculous. 10,000 people in a live stream last night, everybody. You talk about madness. If you get a chance, go back and watch the reaction video from last night. It was chaotic. It was like an auctioneer. I was talking faster than I've ever talked before. If you've ever wondered why there's pauses between comments when I'm looking for somebody who I want to acknowledge, who I want to read, it was just boom, boom, boom. It was nuts. So let me give some shout outs in this one because there are a few less people here, so it's easy for me to do it. If you guys could all do me a favor, if you're new, subscribe and come back and see us again. If you're new or you've been here for a while, give me a quick 999 in chat so I can acknowledge as many people as possible since this is it's only a few hundred of us right now. So I want to say what's up to Tommy V. Also, birthday shout out, one of our moderators, his son, little Tommy's 8 years old. So birthday shout out for little Tommy if you're listening. Hopefully Dad has a good excuse to be away from the streams. He does. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. I want to say what's up to Michelle M. Thank you. Ryan Schlero, Sylvester Shelford, Dan Jones, Lisa Rails, thank you. Angel Calores, thank you. Paradox Games. Gina Crockett, thank you. Jaden, appreciate you being here. Troy Mattingly, thanks. Jennifer Flaherty, thank you. Fox King, Insanity Claps, thank you. Coachella Coastal, RJ Guerrero, Mark Kuhn, Dazzy. Yeah, make sure you guys all pike the like button too. We're going to have to get a new saying since the pike. Yeah, maybe we'll get something different. Matt Denzel says, the death of Jesus, I feel, was completely senseless, such a waste of a good character. Agree with you 100% on that one. I would have much rather seen someone else die than him. That no doubt about it, was a waste. Greg LeBeau, thank you. Chris Rainig, thank you. Davina Tanoia. Shannon M., thank you. Free Negan, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get Free Negan trending. Angie Homan, Natalie. Shane Hassan, Ari Gold, thank you. Reese Nevin, Taya, thank you. Nick Jones, Jessica Ward. Adriana Dutko, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Sam, The Walking Dead. Thank you, Sam. Daryl Stoles. Daryl last night was super chatting like mad, if you guys missed it. He kept coming up with this list like, hey, this can be my Magnificent Seven, and then 8. And like every time he come up with a list, I was like, well, you're missing this person. So, yeah, we're having some fun with that. But thank you for that last night, too. David Henderson, thank you. Rebecca Mendez. Lisa Chaston. Saviors 007. Joe Fulford, thank you. Dylan, thank you. Viola McGowan, always a pleasure. Viola, thank you for being here. Beta the Chosen One. Fluff Salisbury, Shane Hassan. And I won't be able to get everybody a shout out in this, but if I missed you, I'll try to catch you guys in the next one. I will see most of you tonight. Thank you, Jessica Ward. Jessica Ward says, love this channel. I love you being here. And I actually love all of you guys being here because we continue to bring some fresh perspectives and some new ideas. And the growth has been absolutely phenomenal. And keep in mind, when The Walking Dead is over, we don't stop. We are year-round, so we will be doing Fear the Walking Dead, Nosferatu, we'll be doing Stranger Things, we'll be doing some Game of Thrones chat, a little bit of everything. So I might take a day off, but because I haven't had a day off in about 35 or 40 days. But then after day off, we will be right back at it. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you all at 8 o'clock tonight. we're going to talk about some Pike reactions. Peace.